In every business, there are rules. When these rules are transgressed and the misconduct is serious, the employer can proceed with a disciplinary hearing. But how and the correct steps will be the make or break. You have just been informed that a disciplinary hearing against you will take place. The manager explains that you are on paid leave until the disciplinary hearing has been concluded and a ruling is made. But you do have the opportunity to explain why you shouldn't be suspended. Ouch! You know nothing about legal matters. How can you know what to do and how to defend yourself against unfair accusations? Few people understand how a disciplinary hearing must proceed. As an employee, it is your opportunity to reply to the charges against you. If you don't do it correctly, the consequences are serious. Depending on what you are being charged with, you could possibly lose your job and even end up with a blot on your name. Steps to be followed during a disciplinary hearing. A notice is issued to the employee to attend a disciplinary hearing. The notice must indicate the date, time, and venue when the hearing will take place. The notice must also contain a detailed description of the charges against the employee, including the date, time, and description of the incident. Employers must give the employee at least 48 hours notice of the hearing. Weekends and public holidays are excluded to allow the employee to prepare for the hearing. The hearing must be held on the proposed date and time. If the employee does not turn up for the hearing, it must still proceed in absentia, and the employer can continue by submitting proof to the presiding officer. The presiding officer will determine whether the employee received adequate notice of the hearing and whether or not the employee is absent with a valid reason. During the hearing, the presiding officer will ask the employee to plead guilty or not guilty to the charges brought against him or her. The employer puts his case by submitting proof and calling a witness. The employee is then allowed to put his or her case and cross-question the proof submitted by the employer. The employer may cross-question the employee's proof and witness. After a conclusion of the disciplinary hearing, both parties will present closing arguments. The presiding officer must make a ruling of guilty or not guilty. After conclusion of the closing arguments, the employer will be asked to submit aggravating circumstances. The employee will be asked to submit justifying circumstances. The proceeding officer will then determine the appropriate sanction. If the sanction is dismissal, the employee can be dismissed with immediate effect. A disciplinary hearing can be formal or informal, but it is very important that the employer must be able to prove that a hearing did indeed take place. This is why it is recommended that employers hold a formal hearing so they can ensure that all paperwork is in order should the case be referred to the CCMA. If or when the case is referred to the CCMA, this is where specialized representation by one of Solidarity's labor law consultants will be necessary. With the internal disciplinary hearing, Solidarity will be on standby with all the information you need to represent yourself fairly and best as possible.